Good evening, model railroaders, and welcome back to the Second Section podcast, where it's just regular folks talking about model railroading. I'm your host, Andy Dorsch. Joining me tonight on the show is my co-host, Mike Ostertag. Mike, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
You know what? It's good to be back after a little short, break, you could say. I know you were on a whirlwind tour.
I was. Yeah. It was. Man, I can't believe that was almost a month ago. I went there. Went to Denver.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Almost a month, and we've got a lot to talk about because we're switching nights. So we're going to be on Thursday nights now, and we've moved it up an hour.
This might end up being a thing.
Could be. Could be. Could be good. Could be not so good.
We'll see how it goes.
How it goes.
And there's a reason for it. There's a definite reason for it. It's not just because we wanted to make the change. There's some scheduling conflicts on Tuesday nights, and it just those have to take precedent. So
So the big reason is my son plays baseball on Tuesday nights, so got a part-time coach in there, so I got to help out when needed there. And let's see, there it's something to change it up a little bit. We've been on Tuesdays forever, and now we're on Thursday nights, so I don't think there'll be too much in the way of a downturn, but hey, it's good to be back nonetheless. So
I'm just reading some of the comments. Everybody's like, there is no negative to this time.
There are no negatives to this time. Yeah. And then of course, moving us up an hour in the event that our shows run long. I mean, Ray from, the Around the Layout podcast, he basically said this is like a matinee. And it's a matinee marathon. So we'll strap in for a 3-hour ride. You'll be in bed by 10 o'clock instead of 11 or midnight. So
right. Yeah. And, we could use this as a focus group. Yeah, there we go. It's like a focus group to see if people like it. We'll when modeling season comes back around, we can entertain this possibly on Tuesday, going back to Tuesdays if people like Thursdays. It's just, this is an experiment, right? For the time being.
Yeah, it is
a necessary experiment.
Yes, it is. So tonight, Mike, you're on location yet again. So
all the way in my basement.
All the way. Well, but out of the workshop and on the layout side of things, which is really cool.
Yeah. I kind of got a bug,
Yeah. So we got, you especially have a couple things to talk about, and one of those items is going to tie right into our topic tonight, where we're going to break down benchwork for your model railroading. But before we get into that, did you, and again, this is the high level production that you get here at the second section. Did you want to talk about some of your exploits in the last few weeks here? Did you have those up on your Facebook page? Okay.
I have them. Okay. I don't have them on my Facebook page. I think some of them are on the second section Facebook page. Let me dive into this high quality production value here. So, in reality, as it was well documented, I went to the Colorado, Rocky Mountain Trainshow.
Mountain Trainshow.
Yeah, and I did a lot of live look-ins, and I don't even know how many I ended up doing. It had to be close to 30 of them.
Yeah,
I thought I was going to break the internet for a minute there. Just because of, look at this.
Sure.
This is, I know. Case for radio right here.
Yeah, right? that could certainly take down some fiber optic. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So while you're scrounging around on the internet there, so what did you all do while you were there? So I know you went to the show, but you had other activities that you participated in as well.
Yeah, I did. I was so fortunate, and I know this sounds hokey and corny and everything, but truly, 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 one of the highlights of the entire trip was being able
Yeah.
to go and see Michelle Kempema at Greeley, Colorado, at the Model Railroad Museum. And I tell you what an amazing place! If you have to go to Colorado and are in the Denver area, you will not regret.
Really?
Go see this place. It is so amazing, and Michelle's Michelle. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, she is the sweetest, kindest, nicest host. And on top of all of that, she's a model railroader that's got like spews passion for the hobby.
Wow, that's great.
And it's one of those deals where you just you can't not feel good around her. And she explains everything in such good detail that it really does make you want to get active in the hobby and do some things.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, they have got some enormous, ambitious projects coming up. Like, I want to say, and Michelle, if you do see this, I am so sorry if I screw this number up. I want to say it's going to be it's either 4,000 or 40,000 square foot expansion to the building that they have right now. I want to say it's 4,000. 40,000 is enormous. But I want to say it's a 4,000 square foot addition to where they are now. And there's an N scale layout that they've been donated that they want to work on and put up and
Really?
refurbish and do all sorts of. And they've got the amount of things that they have at that museum that they aren't able to display because they just don't have the room for it is just astronomical. And more comes in every day, and it's just one of the greatest places. One of the greatest things I did my entire trip was take that trip to Greeley on that Friday. That was awesome.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. And on top of that, I was able to do some really cool rail fanning on the way out there.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, I will say this much: I am a Colorado rookie. I now know better. When you get off an airplane in Denver,
Yep.
it might be a good idea to give yourself a couple of hours to get acclimated to the altitude before you go directly to 8,900 feet in Moffett Tunnel. Might not be a bad idea. And if you do that and it's sunny out, take some sunscreen, a hat, something to cover your forehead, because I got sunburned so bad. And my hairline was just like screaming the entire weekend. So, but what a great, man, I can't believe how far back, what a great experience it was. All the manufacturers, I would walk up to a manufacturer. They wouldn't know me from now. Okay, to be fair, some of the guys knew me. To be fair, some of the guys knew me, like Chris Palomari knew me. Obviously, he knows me. Greg McComas, Greg McComas is one of is just he's a hoot. So is Chris. You get Chris and Greg together. That's a fun time right there. And then Chris Brimley from Scale Trains, he was there, and him and I talked. I've known him for a long time, and he and I talked about everything but model railroads for a while. And
That's
it was
how
a
it
really
usually
good.
goes.
Yeah, right. And but after the first show, I believe was it Saturday? I think it was Saturday. Or was it Friday? No, it was Friday after I left the Model Railroad Museum. I was invited to go to John Parker's layout and see his.
No way.
Yeah, I got to go to John Parker's
Oh.
layout. Who, here's a flash, has agreed to come on the show. We have to
Yes.
schedule it, but he has agreed to be on the show. So all you section crew who know who John Parker is, and for those that don't know,
The BNSF Fall River, right?
the BNSF Fall River
Yeah.
division, and it is an amazing layout. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous layout.
So let's not spoil everything
No.
until John comes on the show later this year.
Yeah.
But
It's
I mean,
just fantastic.
If you had to put it in a sentence, what would you say?
Oh, just one sentence.
Yeah.
Life changing.
Really? Oh man.
Yeah.
I gotta get out there, and I mean, it just first of all, I got to go to the Colorado Model Railroad Museum. I've never been there, and I've always wanted to go, and I'm gonna just have to make an excuse next time.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough also to be invited to a manufacturer's kind of a dinner and program type of thing.
Okay.
At the Forney Transportation Museum.
Okay. Did you wear it was black tie, right? So you wore a tuxedo?
It was white glove, black tie, and yeah, no, it was not. It was fantastic. It was. Yeah. They have a big boy in there. They have a Chicago Northwestern steam engine in there.
Now we're talking.
They have a Denver and Rio Grande Jeep 30 in there, and the automobiles, a lot of Buicks, tons and tons of Buicks, like go way back, like 1920s, 1910s, all sorts of stuff. I got to see a Grand National again with one of my favorite cars, a Buick Grand National. That was one of my favorite cars. So, yeah, I don't really have a whole lot that I'm back by the program already. I can't see, man, this problem with Facebook is that they jumble everything together.
Yeah,
and everything gets all mixed up. It's not the greatest, no. But bottom line, if you want to go and see some of the exploits, some of the videos, there's a lot that I took. Behind Michelle Kempelman gave us there was about 5 of us. That Chris Costello from JL Innovative was there in our group, and him and I are friends. He actually helped me with my speeder when I bought it, and so so we got a behind the scenes look at how they do their staging, their operations, how they do their all sorts of different things at the museum, Model Railroad Museum, and it was just so awesome. And the show is great. It's a really interesting the way they set that up. It's literally segmented into 3 areas. You have the front of the show is all your manufacturers.
Yeah.
The next portion, the middle portion of the show, is basically all of your first-time manufacturers, and then your a lot of swap meet people, a lot of organizations that are selling things, stuff that is not your mainstream model railroad companies.
Yep.
They're just a lot of mom and pop type stuff.
Sure.
And then the rear portion of the show are these amazing layouts. There must have been, I want to say there was like 30 or more at that show. And
is it a big venue?
It's huge. It's huge. It's held in one of the stock. They use it for the rodeo. Where they bring in Denver, they do the cattle drive every year. It's in one of the buildings they do that in, and it's phenomenal. It's awesome. It's really, really cool. And it's Colorado. The scenery is worth the trip along.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the whole state's a national park.
Right.
So you're not, and then you get to see, railroads go through it, and Denver's a whole thing, and
I'll put some pictures. I've had so busy this month. I feel bad, but I haven't had a lot of time to just sit down at the computer and do anything. But um, I got to go up the Big Ten curve. I was able to drive nearly right up to it. I
No
don't know if I
kidding.
was supposed to be where I was, but me, I just go where I need to go. And then,
If you act
eh,
like you've been there.
yep, exactly. And uh, got to up the Moffat Tunnel right off the airplane. I
Ah,
got to do that. They had a rock slide, so no trains were running, so they were repairing trackage and doing all
but you
sorts of
got
stuff.
to see the portal though, right?
I got to see West Portal, yep, or
Mm,
East Portal, East
mm.
Portal. So not the
Talk about an
Winter Park,
icon.
yeah, not the Winter Park side, the other side.
Yeah.
There's some really amazing little structures that are still there from the 1920s, from when they built the tunnel. It's gorgeous. If you get a chance to go up there, do not do it. If you're going to try to get up there in the winter, you really need to be with somebody that
Chains.
knows the area. Yeah, I think it's actually chain mandatory roads up there.
Yeah, you need chains.
Yeah, and you're gonna need four-wheel drive, and you're gonna need somebody that knows the area really well, because they're dirt roads and sheer drop-offs all over the place while you're driving up there. I had a little Nissan Altima, and it did what it needed to do because the snow was melted for the most part. So
Well, that's good.
there was still a lot of snow up there, but it was a lot of fun, and
Good.
I'm definitely going next year. And then after that, it's probably going to be every other year. Next year,
Next year.
next year, I mentioned that Forney Museum. That was the special program at the end, the thing.
Right.
Next year, all the special programs are being done out at the Model Railroad Museum in Greeley. So Michelle is going to be doing a bunch of hosting for all sorts of stuff. So if you get an opportunity to get out there,
Yeah, it's a
all the
cool event.
special, yeah, all the cool stuff is going to be happening in Greeley after the show. It's going to be amazing. So,
Yeah.
but
Outstanding.
yeah,
Well, let's maybe we'll get some pictures up for the next brew with the crew that we do. And
yeah,
kind of do a
you know
little
what? That's a great
reminiscing.
idea.
Yeah.
That's a great
So
idea,
let's
because then I can talk more about it and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, so we'll next brew with the crew that we do, we'll get some folks on talking about Colorado and Rocky Mountain Train Show and all that good stuff. But the other, I guess, tying right into our main discussion of bench work this evening
yeah.
is you. I mean, and Mike is the epitome of no moss grows on a rolling stone. I'm telling you, you have done something.
I
And
did a thing.
we
Yeah, I
you
did a
did a
thing.
thing. What did you do?
I I walked downstairs one day and I said, I don't like this anymore. I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want this building, and I want this structure, and I want this stuff, and
Ah,
I have nowhere to put this, and I want this on my layout. And I looked at it
mhm.
and I'm like, I need to redo this. And in
So
doing so, I have basically started to rebuild the layout anew.
so
Yes.
okay, we got many follow-up questions here. David Winther, switch to HO.
Hell no.
Boy, stick with the
No.
S. All right.
I'm sticking with
And
S. Why would I go to HO? I got
so
too much
and
money invested in this.
so are you still doing the Farland the Farland terminal, or are you doing something
Yep.
else?
Nope.
All
Farland
right,
Terminal.
that's Farland terminal. So what
So it's going
did
to
you
be
do?
it's going to be the new Farland Terminal is going to be based on several things that I've seen in real life. It's not going to be They're going to be similar, semi-recognizable, but they are not going to be prototypically correct. They're going to fit what I want to do.
Okay.
And main industry, and this is going to make a lot of people laugh. I know it is. But one of the things that this part of the state of Wisconsin is known for, there's a company here that is known internationally,
Hmm.
and it's called KT Seed. They make bird seed, and they get
Birdseed.
their product in, and they've have a brand new plant now. They got a brand new
Yeah.
plant. It's well, I shouldn't say brand new. It's probably 15 years old, if not older than that. But uh, they were a customer on the Milwaukee Road for a long time, and
Mm.
right off of the Superior Division in Chilton, Wisconsin, and they got products in by rail car: millet, Milo, sunflower seeds. They get
Sure.
they get corn. They'd
Yep.
get any number of things, and then so I'm taking that one little step further, and I'm going to get those same products in, not all at the same time. So I'm not going to be running 30-car trains. The train sizes are still going to be 4 or 5 cars, somewhere
Sure.
in there. But eventually there'll be tank cars of tallow, so you can get those little suet cakes. They can make
Yep.
suet cakes. They'll
Right.
have box cars full of like paper or rolled paper or rolled plastic
Boxes and yeah.
for their packaging and stuff like that to make all that stuff. It's going to be a fictional seed company, and but it will be the primary industry on the layout, and it'll have 2 or 3 tracks to it, and uh, uh, yeah,
Oh, just late night
yeah,
model railroad.
yeah,
So it sounds
yeah,
like you decided to redo the layout to adjust to what you feel will make you happy. That's productive for your mental health too.
yeah, and I've had more fun in the last, oh God, what is it, 3 weeks? And I've thrown up these things. I've learned a lot about bench work, stuff that I never wanted to do in the past, and I have
Yeah.
now done it. And now this is the way I want to do things. And I do field a lot of questions as to why I'm doing things the way I am and using the materials that I'm doing, and I have very simple answers for those. Um, so when we get to it, uh, we'll we'll uh, we'll get around to answering those, because we both have done a lot of bench work in recent
Yes, we
months
have.
issue or so,
Yes,
so.
we have.
But yeah, the new
So
Farland terminal, it's right here.
so let's take a look. So we'll put you up on the big screen here. Here's the
All
new
right.
Farland terminal.
Okay, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try to do this. Okay,
All right, Mike's on location here. So we
I'm
got
on
the
location. So,
shaky hand cam.
no, I got this on that pole thingy.
Oh, the pole
This thing.
thingy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So what are we looking at here? I
Okay.
see some sort of crossing.
Yeah, this is going to be the diamond with the Green Band
Hmm.
Western. Even though I'm a huge Milwaukee Road guy, I at this point, this is going to be the Green Band Western. And this right here is the interchange. And as you can see, I mapped it out. I've used TrackCAD.
The X
And
track CAD.
X track CAD, yeah, that X track
Yeah.
CAD. And what I decided to do is I did everything modular. So this is a 4-foot module, and I don't have my remote to focus this. I might have to go and get it, but
Sure.
but this is very similar to the way the interchange was with the Sioux line in the Wisconsin Central at Black Creek. It was very, very similar to that.
Hmm.
We used to interchange with them every night, and when we were coming back on number 2, we would actually make a drop. So there was a hill, and we pull the power ahead past the clearance point of the interchange track, and we go and drop the cars in and just ride a handbrake in and pray to God that they'd stop. But uh, uh, but anyway, this is the way that's going to be, and this will hold 4 cars. The interchange here will hold 4 cars. The switch is going to be down past the box car here. Let's see if I can. You can see right there.
Oh,
I
yeah,
have
there
that.
you are.
And one of the things I did with this is I decided that instead of building the entire thing, of course, I got a name drop right away. I took a page out of Boomer's book, And I
Sure.
said, and I was like, this is section 1. This 4 foot, it says 18 inches deep by 4 feet long.
Yeah.
And I mapped it out. This is the
Yep.
way, this is what I wanted this to look like. So, and then this is what I came up with. And then down here I have section 2, which is where these tracks connect and the siding starts. So I don't know if I can get you down that way or not, but that's what I did. I started that. These two are on. They are now on, and the cork is on. It's ready for track. It's ready for me to start laying ties and start trying to make the Farland Terminal a functioning, productive model railroad again.
Okay, so there's a couple questions that are coming in. So Bill Kenkel's
Yeah.
asking, are you still going to hand lay your track?
Absolutely. Yep.
Nice.
Definitely.
And then it looks like you've laid cork on the raised profile there.
Yes.
Okay. And then what's the height that you've put the layout at?
That's a good question. It's, I don't know. Let's go with 4 inches higher than the last time.
Sure, right. Okay. And then
no, wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Hold on.
Hold on a minute.
I found the tape measure. Hold on.
Oh, this is going to be great. So yeah, it's interesting how Mike is essentially, and you can see a lot of his progress on his Farland Terminal Facebook group. But he's done this in the course of, I don't know, a few nights. He's been able to get the stuff broken down, plywood put up, and essentially he's rebuilding the shelf layout with quite a bit of improvement here. So, all right, we'll get Mike back. Looks like he's found the tool that he's looking for. So, all right, welcome back.
Okay, hi. So the height is, let's call it 56 3/4.
That's pretty high.
Yeah. Yeah. I want, like, you can see
So I'll bring you back on full.
Yeah, see where I'm at. It's top of, like, shoulder height.
Okay.
And I designed it. Remember how I have the shelf brackets?
I do remember that. Yeah.
I still
metal
use
ones.
those. Yep, I still use those. And so what I did was, and this is where we get our highest quality production value.
Yeah, here comes the shaky pan.
Here comes the
for the folks that get motion sick. I'll pull myself back up.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hold on. What are we doing here?
Back again.
Yep.
Here we go. Yeah, this is possibly the highest production quality we've had in weeks on the show.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
So your deck height's at 56 inches. How tall are you?
I'm 5'9", 5'10", depending on which convenience store I'm leaving.
So wherever they put the measuring tape, got it.
Yeah, wherever they put this is not an easy thing to do.
It is not. It is. I guess everyone's getting dizzy here.
Sorry about that, guys. Okay.
Hey.
All right. Back. So we're gonna take a little trip under. We're gonna take a trip under the new benchwork.
Okay.
So first and foremost, I used dimensional lumber.
Ooh, box frame. Dimensional lumber. Okay.
Yep. And you know why?
No, I don't.
Because I wanted to.
Okay.
I've gotten a lot of comments. Well, you should have used, instead of that, you need to use plywood. Plywood is superior. Look, I'm doing 4-foot sections, and I have 16-inch things. There's not going to be a lot of warpage with this.
So So let's
You know,
let's dive into your construction then.
yeah. So what I did is, let's see if I can get over here in the
Oh,
corner. I used a Craig jig and made a box frame, right? And
yeah.
then here is my shelf bracket, right?
Aha.
So there's the
So
metal
look at
shelf
that.
bracket. But
So you
instead
put
of going with a vertical cross member, I put it
there you go.
horizontally and then
Yeah.
cut a slot or cut a notch in there so that
Hmm.
and figured out my height where I wanted it.
Okay.
And then yes, pocket screws, absolutely. And then what I did is I pocket screwed all the cross members are pocket screwed, including these, the horizontal ones. And then I just used it as to screw that onto the shelf bracket. And everything for the layout, with the exception of, so all the stuff for the track portions, you can
Hmm.
see how you see the screws right there,
I
right,
do.
right here.
Yeah.
That's on a section of track. These are all on the track supports. So
Ah.
everything is from the bottom. So that way there's no screw holes or dips on the surface of the layout itself. And I can just go, I have a nice smooth, the top surface is nice and smooth, and I don't have any of these little divots or anything like that, or have to worry about needing to take and get into something or covering screws. I don't have to worry about that. Everything is done from down here below.
Sure. There you
And
go.
then as you can see, I went and I also drilled in holes for wiring.
Ah, yes.
And
Pre-filling your bus holes. That is a
that's
very
it's
good way to go.
yeah, and but this is where things get a little crazy.
Okay.
I used some very high quality 1x2s, and
Okay.
that is what, like, these are extremely high quality from Menards, and that right here is the spline that I use to put the plywood on top of for
Yeah.
the bench work. Now, if you notice, there are certain spots like right here that it
Yeah.
ends and then goes
Yeah.
across in here. It's because I don't need it there because it's so stiff that plywood isn't moving.
So let
Yeah,
me ask you a dumb silly question. So
yeah,
the plywood that you used on the top there for the sub roadbed,
yeah.
um what did you use? Is that half inch, 3/8, three
I
quarters,
used it's half inch, five
half
ply,
inch, 5 ply?
and it was these were 2 foot by 4 foot panels,
Yep.
and I used that. Matter of fact, here's some. I have enough here. I have enough here that I've got some very nice pieces here that I cut. So I have some nice pieces here for doing extra things with if I need to.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
and so it's not sanded, not sanded plywood.
Okay.
It's just a regular 2 foot by 4 foot handy panel. That's a 5 ply. It's not the cheap one. It's the next size. It's the next
Yeah,
one up from that. It is the cheap one. It is the cheap one. These
it's
are just
probably
the
like
cheap five
CDX.
CDX. Yep. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just CDX
CDX
plywood.
plywood.
And so I went against probably every conventional benchwork norm
Mhm.
because I went dimensional lumber, CDX plywood, 5 ply. I developed my own spline system. I, over on section 2, I don't know if you can see, I can't reach the camera, can't reach that far. But one of the things that happened is there's a section where I don't have any spline because I'm going to use servos, and I didn't want to have to drill up through another half an inch because for the throw rod. I didn't want a
Right.
longer throw rod. So if I could keep the throw rod shorter, so where those switches are, there's no spline underneath there. There's no back, but yet because of the 5-ply and where I have the rest of them, it's not moving.
Yeah. It's not.
perfect. And then I just went ahead and all the pieces that I didn't cut for the layout, I put back in, and these I did put screw holes on from the
So
top.
you're going to cover that up with scenery anyway. So
it's going to get covered with scenery, but these are all countersunk.
Yeah.
And I used a cool tool that I found. A countersink. Countersink's a really cool tool, right? Original. But, and we'll get into the tools here in a little while, I suppose. But this is one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time. I didn't even know something like this existed. It's by a company called Montana. I got it at Menards.
Right.
I think it costs like $10 or $20, something like that. And as you can see, it's got.
Can you hold it up to the camera and just kind of leave it there? Some people are asking for it.
Yeah.
So it's so obviously goes in the end of your drill or cordless screwdriver, right?
Yeah, you just chuck it into the drill.
That's good.
Yeah. So you do that, and so here's your nice countersink, right? And it's really nice. It's perfect. They make different sizes of these. So what you do is you go. This has a collar on it that pops in and pops out. See, it pops in and pops out.
Yeah, right.
So it locks and unlocks this, and it comes out. You flip it around.
But wait, there's more.
And it has its own drivers. It has the driver that is for the screws that you are countersinking.
Yeah. So you don't have to go and undo and rechuck, and and then
the nice thing is there's a Allen wrench thing here.
A little set screw there.
A set screw, and you can take this out, I believe. I haven't done it, but you can take this out, put a different one in, and rechuck it, and boom, done. And every time you drill a hole, you just pop that open. Or you need a hole to drill a hole. There you drill the hole, get done drilling the hole, flip it back around, set your screw.
Yeah, that's
and you can do
slick.
that. You two tools in one in this whole thing, and it slices and dices. Yeah, by Ronco.
The Ginsu 2000.
That's awesome. 2000. Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
I mean, I got this at Menards. I'm sure Home Depot has some different ones. Lowe's probably has something similar. Any of your box stores online, I'm sure you can find something like this online. Like I said, I think this was like $10 or $20, something like that. But definitely made this goal so much faster.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So you've got what, 8 feet of bench work put up on your shelves. How many days?
Oh,
how many hours? Let's break it down into hours. How much time have you put in?
I'm going to say 3, maybe 4 total. That's it. Once you have your lumber and you know your dimensions, you start cutting. And the tools that I use to make the pocket screws and everything, that saves.
Yeah.
I will never not build something not using pocket screws again in my life, I don't think.
Yeah,
it is so cool.
Craig is the manufacturer of the ones that we use, right? So that's KREG. Hashtag not sponsored.
Yeah, definitely not sponsored, but boy, I wish they would.
Yeah. If they wanted to sponsor us, that would be fine. We will definitely take their money and fully endorse their product, because I use the Craig pocket holes for everything on my layout too. So, and I'm going to show when we get into the different types of bench work.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and you'll see some of the stuff, the frameworks that I've done, and you'll see the pocket screw, and even you can use pocket screws for the much maligned L girder bench work as well. So yeah, on the frames, did you glue and screw, or did you just screw?
Everything is just screwed.
Sure.
That's it. I just screwed everything. That's all it was. And the reason I did that is because if I need to make a change or something happens, I'm not fighting with a bunch of sanding and everything else. I can take this out, cut it out, use it as a template, make a new one, and put it back in. Bingo, bingo, bongo.
Yeah. You know what's amazing about the Craig jig too, or using the Craig jig, using pocket screws and not gluing stuff? It's like some people are like, "Why the hell aren't you gluing the stuff down?" Well, there's a reason. What if you have to move a cross member because
Yep.
you need to put in a switch machine or something like that, right? Boy,
Yep.
it sure is a hell of a lot easier to just undo two screws, move it down the side rails, and then put it back in.
And that was one of the
So
things I was thinking about is the fact that I tried to build that in so I didn't have to do that.
yeah,
But I don't know exactly how the rest of this is going to how once I get
yeah,
the track on and once I start wiring it and getting everything squared away, there's going to be some signals on here. There's going to be servos on here. There's going to be I'm doing things 180 degrees on this right now that I've done in the past. I've
yeah.
never wanted a lot of electronics. Now I want power switches because I want this to be as hands off of a experience and
Right. You
layout
don't
as you
want to go,
possibly can. Right.
blasting
Yeah.
your layout with a greasy meat hand.
Right. And so
Yeah,
my goal right now is this is 8 feet, right? This
yeah,
8 feet is going to last me most of the summer before I start building some more because I need to really plan the next 8 feet. So once I get going on scenery on this, then I'll go and I'll start looking at planning the next 8 feet. And hopefully by the end of summer, I'll have 16 feet worth of layout here. And
that's awesome.
and maybe by Christmas I'll have 20 feet
Hmm.
or 24 feet. I don't know how. I'm not going to rush through all of this. I'm going to very much. I went back and I looked at a lot of Boomer's videos from early his early days at River Road,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
one of the things that um, really sunk in was the fact that this isn't a hobby you need to do overnight. This is something where you can go and do small sections and get a lot of satisfaction and get that done right. And then move on to the next part. And then if you wanted to go back to that first portion, you always have that option because you're always in varying I think one of his newest videos he said this is you're always constantly going back. There are things in section one of his layout that he's going to go back and do
yeah.
like the barge and all sorts of stuff. Those things are all things section one stuff that and he's on what is it, section four now, section three. And so you're always constantly going back. So I might be way down at the other end of this room working on bench work while I might do that one day, and then the very next day I might be back over here threading line on telephone poles.
Sure. Yeah,
You see what I mean?
you don't have to, you get it, like, for example, what we got here, right? This
Yeah.
is I think it's time to move on right now so I don't kind of get stagnated.
Hmm.
And I've been even there's the yeah, I understand what you 100% exactly what you're saying. Get it to a state where it's good enough for now, but then you can come back and add those little awesome bits in as you go. So
And if you don't like something, take it out, redo it. It's it's
yeah,
it's it's a lot easier to scrape something off and repaint an area and redo it than what people think. It's the mental block of, oh, I just spent how long on doing this and now I don't like the way it looks. I'll just leave it. If you don't like the way it looks, redo it. Get it to where it satisfies you. Don't worry about
yeah,
anybody else. there isn't one layout in the United States, not one, that is being built. I'm saying personal layouts, individual layouts, not club layouts, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But individual layouts, people's basements and stuff, or apartments or whatever. Build your layout for you, not for the people that are coming over. Build it for you. And unless if you're not satisfied with it, that will actually reflect on how your layout comes across. So make it so you're happy with what you have. And if you don't like it, redo it. That's what I did right here. I got unhappy with doing it. I wasn't having any issues. No issues whatsoever. I had a little bit of track work that I didn't do, and that was my fault because I didn't spike everything down the way I did. What's that? That's a lesson that I learned.
Right.
Don't
failed
skip
forward.
I failed forward. I don't skip steps just to get something taken care of or get something done. So
it's a really good point. So
yeah.
Now we'll just call it what it is here, right? And Dan LeDuc's got a really good comment here before we go on. But you always need a mentor to guide you, and that's true. There's in everywhere you go.
I got 3,000 mentors.
Yeah,
every one of you guys is a mentor. We just
right.
Yeah, quite literally. There have been times when Andy and I will be sitting there off show. And we'll be sitting there going, "Hey, did you see what so and so said on the podcast page?"
Yeah.
Like, no, I didn't. I didn't get a chance to look at it. Go look at that. And be like, "Holy crap, that's a great idea." It's like, so everybody should be in this hobby should be mentoring everybody else.
Yeah, amen to that.
It shouldn't be there should be no personal prejudices when it comes to helping each other out in this hobby. There's way too much of that everywhere else going on. This needs to be a safe haven, and our hobby is our hobby, and we're here to help each other. That's part of the reason why Andy and I started this podcast, is to give back and to help everybody. So and boy, the help have we gotten. Wow, I don't know if I could ever repay the guys that have helped us. It's crazy. It's awesome. What happened now?
I got to come off mute. I did something setting up.
I thought that was me. I thought that was me.
No. I was clicking buttons, and we really need a producer. That's what it boils down to.
No, we do not. We're doing great.
We're doing great. Yeah, we're doing fine. Okay. But I think that, just kind of boils down to so you've gone through a few iterations now, right?
Yep.
And what we want to do now is, so we've kind of talked about the purpose and why you've kind of switched tact, and we're building a little bit different type of bench work. And
yep.
I will say, like, the stuff that you're doing, some people are like, "Oh, it's not that advanced." Well, actually, in some cases of model railroad bench work, it's a little bit more on the advanced side. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna share a video here of what you can do to just start out. While, let me see if I can pull this up, and I'm gonna
That's perfect, because I gotta go get my power cord and plug in.
Yeah, do a good job.
Yeah.
So I think what we'll do here is I'm going to show a video, and it's a brief one, but this is how you can get started. You don't need fancy bench work. I mean, all's you need is, let me see here if I can pull it up.
You do that. Okay. I'll be right back.
All right. I'll wait. So let's see here. So I have this little guy, media player. Just going to do the old screen share and see what happens. All right. So this is how you can get started with just basically sawhorses and 2-inch pink foam. And, especially if you're wanting to get started into the hobby, this is a really, really good way to do that. And you can see, it's just basic it's very basic, and we're using a Unitrack and the DCC controller here, and
I
there's really
love that
not.
layout, by the way. That
Yeah,
was awesome.
yeah, it was a fun little layout, and you can, to get started. This is my son Henry. He's all of maybe 5 years old, and they're 3 years, 4 years old in this one. But yeah, it's it's just a little 4x8 sheet of foam, and you don't really need more than that, to get started, and especially if you just want to build models and see them run. Again, just a couple of sawhorses, and this while I was building the layout that I currently have, this has been, basically what kept the model railroad interest alive for not only my son but myself. Because we could still run trains. I know it's just a loop, but again, gets you started. So it's a good way to do it. Very cheap too. Piece of foam and two sawhorses. It's all you really need. So we'll stop that. So one of the other things that I did want to talk about is a different type of benchwork that you can use is a hollow core door.
Oh, I've heard of. I've actually played with that before.
Really? Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've seen a lot of people online, especially end scalers, using hollow core doors
Yeah.
to get, basically, and they could put it on top of a bookshelf, especially if you get some of the nicer stuff from like Menards or something like that. You can go ahead and I'll share a picture of what that kind of looks like. It's almost like what you did in your first stages of the Farland terminal. But this fella here, I'm on one of the model train forums here, modelrailroadforums.com. But I mean, they just have shelving brackets and a couple of hollow core doors, 18 inches. They're cheap, and they're fairly strong, and all it's got to do is hold model trains, right? So it doesn't have to, you're not going to be jumping up on here and tap dancing, like Danny Kaye, but it's, it's a good way to get some quick bench work up and get trains running. So you don't have to do the very complex and, HOOS. I think, door
I'm still
blanks
here.
at the local salvage here from MR Lee, is saying they're $3. So easy way, to get going is just using good old fashioned hollow core doors.
And if you really want to get fancy,
and we do,
if you really, really, really want to get fancy, ooh, did I actually pull this off?
no, you've lost all.
No, I didn't.
I
turned it off. That's why.
I
I didn't want people to get dizzy.
Oh, that was a good call.
Menards,
people their dinner.
Yeah, Menards actually has. Go and look and check out their like, I don't even know what you would call it. Their junk pile, like where they have people who
like
brought
scratch
back
and dent stuff.
Yeah, like they might have hollow core bifold doors where somebody might have brought some back and there's a hole on one side.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, that's great. You don't need that side.
Yeah.
Just go and use the other side then. And you might be able to pick it up for $2 or $3.
Right.
So you don't have to spend $50 on a piece of wood in order to get a nice looking piece of bench work. I think in total, I think I have about $30 worth of lumber in both of these. So about $60 it cost me to do this 8 feet. But I also went with a higher quality dimensional lumber. I didn't, this isn't the low quality garbage that they, with all the.
Yeah, I didn't see any shark bites in it.
No, there's no shark bites in it. This is all kiln dried. It's all, and the plywood is the same thing. I sorted through the plywood to make sure I got the ones with the one side that looks decent. The other side, it's on the bottom. Who cares?
Yeah. And Yeah, go ahead.
No, well, I was just going to show. Uh, oops. Uh, this
Oops.
hey, I'm in a total area that's just barely wide enough for me. So
Yeah, man.
here's one end, right? This is a little I don't know, a little knotty spot or whatever you want. This is the one side. The whole board looks pretty decent, right? Here's the back.
Yeah, it's fairly clear. Ooh.
Yeah, here's the back. Well, obviously I'm not using this side. I'm not going to use this, but I'm using this. And this, I can sand that down if I need to, or just cut it right off.
Yeah.
And it's not. I want to see if I can do this with the camera. Look at it.
Oh my God, I can see that from Space Mike. There's a huge bow in it.
Well, yeah, but it's also been standing on its end and everything else like that. When I bought it, it wasn't like this, but it's also been sitting here like on end like this,
sure,
leaning against something. But even with that bolt can be taken out with some screws.
Yeah, it's not. You can stiffen that up. If you just give it enough support every 16 inches, should be all right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I did.
Yeah. So Holcore, that's a good way to go about it. Another spot to get them is like a Habitat for Humanity or Restore.
Yep, that's a really good spot.
So so if you want to get, or even like a countertop or something of that nature for underneath the layout, it's a fantastic spot to get cheap materials to build your benchwork. So I think one of the other things we talked about a little bit about the grid. I have some pictures of just some of the benchwork that I've done in terms of grid stuff and things. So let me see if I can pull this up. And I use a bit of both. I use plywood and dimensional lumber. As of late, though, I have been leaning towards dimensional lumber just because it's, I don't know, it's just easier than ripping wood down. And I'm lazy and I want to get stuff done now, right? So
there's a time factor, right?
Yeah, I mean, my time is worth something, right? So, but here again, I'm going, and these are the quality board, aside from the plywood top. So I use the quality lumber from Menards. It's their number 2. It's not the clear stuff, so there are some knots in it. And then I'll go through the pile and pick out the snakes and throw those aside, and try and get the straight boards as much as I can. And then one thing that I do prior to screwing it all together, I'll actually leave it in the house and let it acclimate to my climate. So that way,
how long do you do that for?
Just a couple of days.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. And then for like the sub road bed here, so I am a little bit finicky with this. I'll use at least 7 or 11 ply, 3/4 inch plywood. So I won't. All my sub road bed is 3/4 inch.
Yeah, that's not going anywhere.
Yeah. So, and I'm again a part of the over engineering society. So,
but you again, also, in your credit, you also have a very extensive woodworking and framing background. You also have cabinetry skills that So I mean, you understand a lot more of
from the joinery and
the joinery and the stuff like that, the things to make sure that things don't do what they're not supposed to do.
Yeah. And then here's a look at the benchwork that I created for. I think this is right when you walk down in the basement and turn to your left. But I made space for cabinets underneath, and then I built some basically some inset cabinets for made out of maple plywood and maple face frames and stuff like that. So I made sure to plan ahead so that I could build the whole structure all in one shot. And again, using just dimensional lumber, but when you skin it and keep things as tight as you do with the width of the cross members, it doesn't go too far.
Now, did you go 16-inch on center on those?
I
Or is
did,
that
yes.
12? Or is that a little
No,
closer?
I used 16-inch on center there.
Nice.
Yeah. So let's see here. What's the other ones that I got here? Then here's just another look at it, so you can see I use Craig screws for pretty much everything on the framing. Just goes by quite a bit faster. Again, another look at the piece there, so you can
Now,
see
how heavy was that to
it's
move?
light. So it was probably less than 25 pounds.
Because that got moved. I know that's not where that is, right?
Yeah,
Or is it?
it's been moved since, and
Yeah.
so you heading to bed?
Yeah.
All right. Good night, bud. All right. Yeah, you can say goodnight to the crew.
Good night, guys. Have a nice
Night,
night.
You too, Henry.
And don't be rude to Andy.
All right, get out of here.
Doors.
All right. Good night, bud.
You're not
Get out of here. All right, thanks, Phil. He's our new producer, folks.
Yeah.
And then you can see again, this is just more of that same type of construction with I used 1x3s for a majority of it. I seem to be able to get away with that. So you can see here, you may recognize this benchwork here. It's actually what we're sitting behind right now. What's sitting behind me right now?
Yeah, I remember when it looked like that.
Yeah, you've been down in the basement. So
Yeah.
and then here it is. So you can kind of take a look. I'm actually sitting right here where the chair is right now. So it's completely changed since then. But again, you can see the pocket hole screws and the 3/4 inch ply and pretty much I made sure that everything kind of had a purpose. So there was a workbench put under here. I designed it so it was all not only just for the top of the layout, but what was going underneath it as well.
The beautiful thing about using the pocket holes, the pocket holes stuff is it takes the guess. One of the things that's actually, I think it's actually underrated, to be honest with you, is it takes the guesswork out of what fastener to use.
Right.
There's no guessing as to it. It will tell you use this size screw for this size wood, because and we'll get into that more when we get into the tools. But I mean, it's makes it so much easier.
So Tom Holly had a question here about how tall is my benchwork. So my benchwork is like the deck height where I'm at is at 54 inches. So I'm about 5'8" on a good day if I'm wearing shoes. So I'm starting to shrink apparently. But yeah. It's pretty much just in so I can reach in and not totally tear everything up. So yeah. And then here's an example. The next style is L girder. And a lot of folks may remember L girder. Back in the days, was it Lynn Westcott, model railroader? I think he pioneered this long ago. And I think this was before pocket hole screw technology was made. And the premise was that you made these L type, I guess, rails, right? And then you would lay cross members on it. And the advantage is that in the L part, you would screw up and in to the base of these cross members. And that's all. So you can see the L piece here really good. And that's all well and good, but it takes a lot of lumber to make these rails. And I don't know. I think it's with the advent of pocket screws, I think it's a bit antiquated.
And then you went, and then you needed to have. Didn't you need to use risers then too? Risers with cleats, and cleats. Yeah. And
you could do that with your box or your grid, like you showed. You can certainly do that as well. But it was a bit, I guess, it was good for the day. But with the advent of pocket screws, I think this is kind of gone the way of the dodo. I don't know why I built it like this a while ago, but you can see here's some more L girder with the risers
Yeah.
on it. And it is good because you can do different lengths of your cross members. So I got like a really long cross member in here, so I can have a nice curved piece of fascia around there. However, we can still get there with the box frame like behind me here. I just cut the angle, the trace the angles and cut in some plywood, and I put a backing behind it so it's not going anywhere.
Right.
So those are the different, and then back to the grid, right? What we all know and love: pocket holes for everybody, pocket screws for everybody. Yeah. So
that looks like it's a set of modules there. That looks a little different than that first one. That looks.
It is.
Could that potentially have been the your modular thing that you did? Your El Dorado?
The El Dorado module, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one I did use plywood for everything.
Right.
And
see, one thing is too about using dimensional lumber over plywood is if you don't have like a table saw or access to one, the plywood thing gets a little cumbersome.
Sure.
A table saw would really work. You don't need to use a table saw. You can use a skill saw if you want, or a circular saw. You can use one of those. Your cuts may not be as straight as what you would like them, but there are guides and ways to do it. But you're spending more on tools than you are getting your layout built at that point. Just to make a straight cut.
Yeah. So talking about tools, right? I mean, that's to do the bench work that we've talked about. You have to have some sort of circular saw,
right?
Either be it a table saw or a skill saw. That's kind of like in your benchwork starter pack. You need to have a decent saw.
Because I used a circular saw, one of the things that I went and I bought is I had a contractor square.
Yes.
A little plastic one. A little plastic one, but I went and I bought.
Yep.
I bought this at Menards. I think this cost me like $15, $18, something like that. This has been amazing because when you're using this as with a circular saw, you can use these edges as guides and run your saw right along here, and it'll help give you your straight cuts. And they make little things that you can clamp on to get your angles. What are they called, Andy? I just saw a video on it. But you can actually clamp it on here, and it'll put you up here, and it'll make that line, and then you just cut. Your saw will go right along that line, and boom, there's your whatever degree angle you needed.
Oh, like a miter type cut.
Yeah, but there's a thing that you clamp on here, like a little screw-on thing that you can clamp on at the degree settings to help set where the square goes. And so it's one of these, and I suggest a metal if you can afford a metal one. I would suggest a metal one because they just last a little bit.
Yeah.
And when you drop them, they don't do that.
Yeah, the plastic ones you got to be fairly careful with. But when I'm doing the grid, piece, like if I got my rail, right, so I'll have my rail against the one edge, and then my my cross member on the other, and I will actually take the time to make sure that each one of those are square. And like Tony Dixon says here, speed, and that's what speed squares, right?
Speed square, yep.
Yeah, this is a speed square, right? So speed squares, 4 different sizes. They're great. And when I worked in construction, I had one of these in my tool belt. I just put it in the nail pouch because I used it for everything.
Yeah. And there's all sorts of different things you can do with them. Yeah. They will work as a screwdriver, yeah.
Use it as a screwdriver. I have a metal one that it's pretty beat up. But yeah, again, like that, as far as the tools, there's one tool that was mentioned here by the section crew. There's a couple things that was mentioned. So I think it was Joe. Let's see here, Joe DeLuso, I think, said something circular saw and a 10-inch miter saw, so like a chop saw.
Well, that's
Oh,
what
man.
I have one of those out in the
Yeah.
garage. That's how I cut everything. I
And
took
you
everything. I made my measurement and zip, zip, zip. In
now
10
you
minutes,
can
I
use your
had.
speed square to do my cross cuts as well. So
Yep.
this tool can be used to accomplish that. But boy, it saves just a slew of time.
I don't have a radial one. I wish I had a radial one. I just have a regular chop saw, but I wish I had a radial.
Or like a one of those chop and pull type deals, like a regular arm saw.
A radial arm saw. I wish I had one.
Yeah.
Levels.
Oh man, boy, you must have read the playbook tonight.
I did.
Yeah.
And on top of that, get yourself one of these bad boys.
Little mini level.
2 of these. I always call these torpedo levels.
Yeah, I think that's what they're called.
Yeah, and these things are great, especially if you have a short distance that you need to level off, and you're trying to get this big monster in there, which isn't that big. I think this is 2 feet.
2-footer, right?
Yeah, I have a 8-foot one or a 7-foot one out in the garage that I found, like literally found it at work. But it's these things are great for checking small distances and seeing if things should check and see. Yeah,
and
level enough.
And Paul's absolutely right. So I also have a 48 inch level that I use for doing my runs. So the 24 inchers, they're great for doing the cross, but if I'm doing my long runs, I use my 48.
Yeah, I do not have a 48. That I have the 24. I have several 24s.
Yeah, and Dwight,
I should get a 48. That's what I should do. I should get a 48.
Yeah, Dwight's absolutely right. It's important for track. And you know what? Talking about benchwork and stuff, Ralph Franzetti says if you can get a portable laser level.
I have one.
Yeah.
I have one, and as a matter of fact, it's sitting right there, and I've never used it.
If I had a laser level, I would use it every day. I'm telling you, man.
I never use that thing. I keep forgetting I have it. I keep forgetting I have it. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Hey, you know one of the things that I found was really, really helpful?
No. Clamps.
Corner clamps.
That was my next. Yes, corner clamps.
I did not read the synopsis that close, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I just grabbed these.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
These helped me immensely when making this. The new benchwork. They helped a lot because you just get one corner started and it'll keep it relatively square. It's not perfect. You have to square it as you go, but and these are cheap. Yeah. They make super expensive ones. Like I know Craig makes one that's I think it's like a clamp and it's like $50 or something like that.
I have one.
Do you?
It's real nice.
I thought about buying it and I'm like, maybe. Well, hey, I'll give you my laser level. You give me your clamp.
No, I use the clamp. You can have the clamp.
But these things, I think these are. I'm poor and destitute. I can't afford it.
Whatever. You have a speeder.
Damn it. Fooled with logic again.
Right.
But I think these are like $5 a piece. These are cheap. These are real cheap. You don't have to get super fancy ones. That's all these are. And all it does is I'll try to do this without hurting myself. Oh, hey, I'll do it this way. I have all sorts of neat little tricks here. All this does is it just goes and slides right on.
Yeah.
And it comes, and then you put the other board on, and it makes a square corner.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the other tools that I just got maybe a year and a half ago. And I'm a DeWalt snob. That's just That's what I was. But I have one of these babies. It's a cordless impact,
Okay.
and for driving in screws, so I use the Power Pro screws. Telling you, this with that, it just I never strip out any heads, and it just it is probably the most versatile tool that I use on for putting together bench work. Just absolutely
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. It's I just use a regular straight. I'm a Ryobi snob.
Yeah. Hey,
I'm
as long as it
very
works,
much
right?
into I'm very much into the 18 volt. Their 18-volt system.
Yep.
It's a great system. They come out with all sorts of cool little toys. But
Yeah.
I just use a regular straight driver, just a drill driver.
Yeah.
That's all I use. Now, one thing I will do on this is when I was making my frames, I took it out of the solid drive mode, and I did put it into a I did turn the clutch on it so that it would only go so far, and once it met that resistance, it would go and start clicking,
Yeah.
doing that. So that's one of the things that that I do. I just use that.
Yeah. So let's ask the section crew, what other tools do you guys that we didn't mention tonight, especially for bench work? Throw some stuff up in the comments and let us know, and kind of help your fellow section crew out here on some of the tools that you guys like to use. And one thing before do you want to bring the Craig jig up
I
whilst
do.
we're
Yeah.
talking?
Okay.
So
This is Craig's.
that's a good one. A
What's
calculator.
that? What?
Bernard
Oh, a
from
calculator. Yeah.
Calculate, yep.
A
Clamps.
calculator is a great clamps. Clamps are. Well, I have clamps.
Shop John Rose with the shop vac.
Shop vac.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
yeah, but you know what the problem is with having a shop vac? That means everything's clean, and
I like clean.
I
Ooh,
know.
here we go. Bill Kenkel's good utility knife.
Yeah, that'll help. That's a great one. So
all right, so let's show that Craig jig.
All right, so Craig jig. This is their K4 model. It's a little older design. Their newer design. I don't even know if they make the K4 anymore. It's a really, really. Now they make several of them that have different like workstations, so it all folds together, and
Yep.
But I got this as a kit. And the way a Craig jig works is you drill according to the thickness of the wood you're drilling into, not the thickness of the wood that you're using to put the screw in. It's the thickness of the wood you're drilling into. So I was using 1x or 3. This is 3/4 inch lumber. So I set the side here on. I'll see if I can get close up. If you can see, there's all these little numbers right here: 1/2 inch, 5/8, 3/4, and it goes on and on and on down the line.
You could use 2x4s in there if you wanted to.
Yeah, if you wanted to. I have 3/4 inch right here because that's what I'm drilling into. So I'm using 1x. So you do that. You set you have a special drill bit that comes with it as a rule, and as you can see, it's got a little pilot end on it, and then a squared off end, and then it's got a collar that's set.
Depth gauge.
And you can a depth gauge, and you set it on there, and I don't know how well this will come across, but you see where the start at the end of the pilot is, and that you set that to the thickness of the wood you're going into, again, which is 3/4 inch, because it's a 1x, 3/4 by 3.5, or a 1x4. And then you just set your set screw to that, and it comes, as you can see right here.
Yep.
That's where the little collar goes. And you put your wood in. Let's see. You put your wood in, piece of wood that's not all full of sticky stuff.
Sap.
No, adhesive.
Oh.
You can adjust this, and you just clamp it, push and clamp it down.
Come on, muscles. There you go.
Yeah, I know. I got this pretty tight. And it really doesn't matter where on this board you have this set up, because your holes are designed on here. You can see how they're offset. You always use the outer two holes for the size wood that you're using. So that since this is a 1x4, I'm going to use this hole and this hole. If I was using a 1x2, I'd use this hole and this hole. If I was using a 1x3, I'd use this hole and this hole. So it all depends on what you're doing, and then you just put this and drill it down, and it goes right through. And when your collar hits the plastic right here, you pull it back out, and boom, done.
Yeah.
You pop it off, and you have yourself a pocket hole. Yeah. And it actually makes a stop for your pan head screws. And that's the beautiful thing, is the Craig system tells you the size screw. And they're a certain type of screw, and I'm sure, Andy, you know that you can use other ones. So you don't need to use the Craig.
Yep, you can use other ones.
You can use other ones.
Screws.
Yeah, but this is specifically 1.25 inches, and this is specifically for going into 3/4 inch lumber. And it's, and I'll show you what the screw actually looks like. It's a square head. So your driver is a square. It's not Phillips. It's not anything else. It's a square, and it has a nice little what do you call that, Andy? Not a pan head, a flange.
Yeah, it's just like a flange head screw.
It's got a flange head screw, and when that flange hits the inside portion of that pocket hole, that's it. That's all the farther you need to go.
Yeah. Robert Thomas is right. Not sponsored. Should be sponsored.
Should be sponsored. I'd hate to say it. That might be did somebody say that's going to be a new T-shirt? Should be sponsored. But it's I'm a firm believer in it. I will not. I've been spoiled now.
Yeah, and it's interesting. There's a couple other ones that I do want to bring attention to. So if you were to buy like a 4x8 sheet of plywood, and you want to break down big panels, you can use just a regular circular saw, skill saw type of thing. Let's say you don't have a big thing to cut it on. What I do with mine is I actually lay a 2-inch piece of foam down on the floor of my garage, and I'll put the panel on top of that, set the depth of my saw, and cut into the foam, so I'm not cutting into my floor. But then that way I'll set up like a straight edge or something, an 8-foot straight edge along the edge of where my saw goes, and then I can essentially it's like a poor man's track saw. Track saws are another great way to break down panel lumber, so like plywood and masonite and those types of things. Certainly would. I mean, I don't use Festool type tools, but Craig has a panel saw. I think Milwaukee's come out with a new panel saw. All really good ways to break down panel products. So yeah. So it's good stuff. So we talked about, a couple of different things about bench work, but let's say, and this was brought up on, I think it was a couple shows ago, where we talked about armchair modeling and folks that may have disability, or, that the hands don't work like they used to, or, things might be a little tough. There are other options to get bench work for your model railroad. So you've started probably seeing companies like Sievers or Mr. Benchwork advertised in different model railroad publications. They have their own YouTube channel, stuff like that. They are another way for you to essentially get a model railroad up and running, just by going and grabbing some some bench work from these people, and they'll just deliver it right to your house. So you can see here, this is Sievers. They have
Oh yeah.
they basically have modular sections. All of this stuff is done. Um, they have different legs and all sorts of angle pieces. So you can essentially buy your bench work, from these folks and put it together, basically one piece at a time. The other person that I actually really like, kind of has a similar construction style, um, is Mr. Benchwork, and he's got a pretty good YouTube channel out there, and he not only does bench work and custom bench work on the side, but he also teaches you how to do it. And so if you've ever been out on YouTube and seen his channels, seen his channel and his videos, they're pretty good. And then one other area that you can certainly go to get your bench work and stuff like that is your some hobby shops. So like
Yeah.
like Engine House Services, they do
Yep.
custom layouts and those types of things where they'll put bench work together for you. Lance Mindheim, puts stuff to builds custom layouts, that type of stuff. So so there are other I guess alternatives. I even like if you want to build a helix, right? There's helix kits now available, for folks out that just may not have the skills to cut all the angles right, or do this or that, but certainly you can put the helix together in a weekend and
Helixes
have
are
your.
hard.
They're a real pain in the keister.
Yeah,
Um,
they're not fun. They're not fun
no,
to do
they're
at
not.
all.
It's a labor of love. I
It's a
think
labor
it
of
was
something,
Split Rock. Split Rock. Remember, he used to say, "Friends don't let friends build helixes."
right?
I think, and that's truer words have never been spoken. But again, more opportunities, um, for people to get their bench work. If they don't have the ability to make it themselves. So that's pretty much, I think the things that we wanted to discuss for
I have a
bench
couple
work.
pictures.
Yeah, you do.
Do you want me to show some pictures quick of
Yeah, and
what
then
mine
and
looks
then
like?
yeah, and then what we would want to do is, once we get through yours, I know I did ask the section crew on our Facebook
Yeah.
group, Second Section Podcast, out on Facebook, and we had some people show some of the bench work that they've done. And spoiler alert, John Parker put a picture of his in there, and it's
I
absolutely insane,
know. I
isn't it?
know
'Cause
it
it's so
is.
cool.
It,
So we'll
it
take a look at some of the bench work that the section crew's doing here,
okay. Here's mine real quick.
real quick.
Right. Yeah, you see that right there?
We do see that.
Okay. So this is what section 1 looks like. Naked. So you can see the pocket screws. And then right here you have a real good you can see really well. Here's the horizontal and then the vertical. And what I did is I went 16 inches from each corner and then 12
Okay.
in between here.
Mm.
So I needed that because I wanted this more narrow to support, to help have a little closer gapping between there to help support the spline for underneath the diamond, because this is such a big piece. And then I cut this is all cut as one piece.
Yeah.
This whole diamond thing is all cut as one piece. So there's another little angle showing how I did things.
Mhm.
This is actually a separate piece. I just have it right tight to here, and you can see where I marked off my track centers on here as well. So that way I could help gauge exactly where I needed to go with the width of what I wanted for a right of way, and then this also helped when I went and put section 2 on. I had the track center already set here, so I could gauge the next section's track centers off of the start right there. And then I
Yeah.
went down, and when I went, I measured down, like on the, you could probably see, I don't know if they see that real well on the other one. I have marks right here where I
You can
counted.
zoom in, Mike. There's that
Oh
little.
yeah,
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 you
the
can
little
zoom in there.
the zoomy in thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. I marked on a piece of paper here. I marked where this was 6 inches from the wall. This is 9 inches from the wall. This is 21 inches from the left. This is 13 inches from the right, and then 18 inches from the left. And so that way I had all of my measurements for where my track centers needed to be. I could mark all of that out and then add what I wanted to for right away width. And
Yeah.
and so that's how I went and I did that. And like I say, you can see where I was measuring, and then I made a couple of mistakes here because I actually went and I'm like, oh, this doesn't look like it's going to fit where I wanted it, and this is a horizontal. Yeah. And the reason I did it had it like this is because the pocket screws wouldn't line up properly on either side of the bracket. So I had to move it over. Like you said, I literally unscrewed it and had to move it over a little bit. And it was very simple to do. And, and then here you can see where I put the spline pieces in, and then actually this is when I used a piece of 1x. This was a 1x2 that I had, and I thought it was too high. I didn't like the height between here and where the scenery deck was. So I went and I got a piece of 1/2 inch, and I like that a lot better. It's a little closer to what I wanted. So yeah, that's the way the benchwork looks, and it's really interesting once you get into doing this, how I actually enjoy doing bench work. I don't mind doing bench work one bit. I like working with my hands and everything anyway, doing woodwork and stuff
right.
like that. So I mean, it's like not a big deal. I grew up around doing it. I'm not as good as you, that's for sure. But I mean, it's something that I like doing, and it's middle of the road for what I like to do on the layout. It's not my least favorite thing, but it's definitely not my favorite thing. But I mean, it's certainly not the least favorite. But it's fun to watch and see something be made out of nothing, really.
Yeah, right. Sure. So let's bring up some of the section crew here.
This is like a new type of what's on your workbench.
Yeah, kind of. I wanted to have the section crew kind of share their, based on the theme of tonight's show. And
awesome.
So, Robert Pettit here, it's a good look at his workbench, and he's got the lumber with the foam on top.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now see, there's a good example right there. I didn't want legs under mine.
Yeah.
And that's why I designed it, but I also didn't want these big gaudy 45-degree angle pieces underneath there either. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you can see another look at it here.
Yeah, see, I like that.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, he uses the plywood here for looks like for most of his stuff, except for the legs, of course. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's pretty good, sturdy. I think that's another key, right? You want your bench work to be somewhat sturdy.
Do you guys have guys that have the legs? Do you put like furniture adjusters on the bottom so that you can drill those up and be able to, so you can adjust the heights, so you can level it on the floor that way? Or how do you do that? That's I'm always curious about that with guys that have layouts with legs underneath them.
See here. So here's John Parker's deal.
I tell you what.
So look, I mean, isn't
Yeah,
that just
and
a work of art?
that is just, and that's only one part of it.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
It's phenomenal. His is it's a mushroom layout. There's another thing that we didn't discuss. You know,
No.
the style of layout you're doing. If
That's
you're
a
doing
different show, though. That's a whole different.
It is. That's a wholly different. Yeah, you're right. I'll stop.
No, that's all right. You don't have to stop. I'm just saying that's a
No, that
topic
is
for another day.
That's a rabbit hole. I don't know that we can really afford to go down
No.
right now.
Now here's something that's nice and clean, sturdy. So
it looks
Paul,
similar to yours.
Yeah, it looks very similar to the stuff that I'm doing. I mean, you can see he uses the L girder, but a little different way, right? So he puts his foam on top of it.
Yeah.
Which I think is an interesting way to use the L girder style. So maybe there's use for it yet. Let's see. So Mike Slater here, this is the twofer, right?
Right.
Messy workbench, but then the staging yard, right?
Yep.
And it's all built from plywood.
Yep.
Mike, you've already won what's on your workbench.
Yeah, good old Mike.
I do. I can't. I hope that I get to see him at Train Fest this year. So here's Williamson AD, and this is just first of all, the lanterns are super cool.
Right.
I know we just kind of dived right into what's on your workbench, but there he's using looks like dimensional lumber. It's got some of the tools we talked about, the level, those types of things. Good tape measure there, yeah.
I will say one thing. One other thing that we didn't talk about.
I don't know. We don't talk about a lot of stuff.
I noticed that in that picture there.
Yeah.
Was the lighting while you're building the layout? I'm just sitting underneath a shop light right now.
Sure.
Because the lighting for this part of the room isn't done. So you got to make sure you have halfway decent lighting down here so you can see what you're doing.
Now look at this. So look at the bracket. So this is Darren Umlauf, and he's building a double decker here, right?
Right.
But look at his brackets. That is very interesting, right? So what does he say in his comment here? Is unorthodox mounting brackets when a framing square isn't a framing square for a second deck. I've seen this in the Tony Custer book, How to Build a Double Deck. Someone used framing squares as brackets.
Wow, I never would have thought of that. That's a good idea.
You get that right angle. With the other shelf bracket, there's always that convex curve in there.
Yeah.
And it's just a real pain in the keister. That's twice I used that on the show tonight.
Yeah.
Fat Max. I got a Fat Max.
I did too.
That's the best tape measure out there. Let's see here. Go all the way down. Now here's Paul Bukowski.
Yeah.
Dimensional lumber. This looks like Menards quality lumber. If I've seen it once, I've seen it a million times. Them little tags they put in the end there.
Yeah.
Buggers. But there again, he's using the dimensional lumber. So I know, and it's Ford versus Chevy, right? When you get to that point, some people like plywood, some people don't. Now here's something that's super cool, and this is a show topic that we gotta talk about is modular railroading. But so here's Tim Moran, and he's part of the Speedmo crew.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And their design, and they use this is 1/4 inch or maybe even 1/8 inch plywood, and they use it in basically like a waffle type arrangement, and it's super light and super strong.
Wow.
Yeah. This is really cool. It's very innovative on how they built these modules together.
Mark Stafford says that he's doing that with a laser cutting.
Yes, a lot of people are doing it with CNC or lasers now.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome.
So here's Daniel Leduc. I mean, this is just we'll just show this because it's awesome.
Yeah,
You know, I think he's got a nice bridge scene, river scene that he's working on. And then couple of chassis to go with Mike's shirt tonight,
yeah.
which that is a cool shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I was asked the other day. How many of these I have.
The shirts?
Yeah, how many train shirts I have, and I think I'm around 11 or 12 now.
Yeah. Here's another look
Too
at
many.
benchwork. You know, it's just the grid frame. It looks like he's got foam on top.
Now there's another interesting thing about how you do your bench work. You see how he has that's a Digitrax. I'm assuming that's a Digitrax.
Might be NCE, I think.
Or it could be, or is it NCE? But regardless, whichever one it is, having enough room to be able to mount your electronics
on your fascia
is really something that you need to think about also.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that can adjust. You know, that can affect how thick you want to put something or how deep you want to make something.
Yeah. And here's another picture of it here, just underneath 4 more 1x4s kind of slatted in almost like a bed frame, kind of like what you're doing on that one shelving bracket.
Yeah.
So there's multiple ways to go about it. No way is right versus wrong.
Whatever holds up your layout.
Here you go, Robert J. Thomas.
That's cool.
I'm with Tim Moran, waffles. Look at that. This is a really cool progression, right? So you get to see the waffle, and then look at all the stuff he has underneath the waffle.
How thick is the deck, though? Is the deck 8
inches?
No. How thick is the deck?
The top deck?
The top, is it like 1/4 inch? Is it 1/2 inch? Is it?
Tim's on the show. He should be able to respond in the chat.
Tim, how thick is that deck on top of there? If everything else is made out of, say, 1/8 inch, you know.
Here you go. Helix to exit the benchwork. Of course, we had to have a helix.
Yeah,
David Winter.
And that's kind of a pretty traditional way of doing a helix, right? With using the
the blocks.
The blocks, you know. A lot of people do threaded rod right now. That's kind of a big. That's a big vogue. In vogue, but boy, I tell you what, that's rough on your hands. That's a lot of. and if you know, the nice thing about using the threaded rod is you can adjust things as you go.
But I think people are begging me to hit the refresh button here. I'm seeing a bunch of people post. I'll give it a twirl here real quick and see what comes up. If there's anything after David. Get everyone up there and showing their work, because it's there's some really interesting ways of doing stuff. Yeah, there's a bunch more here.
And that's another thing too, is like, if you've been on the show, or if you're on the show right now and you're just kind of tuning in to see what's going on, and you haven't started doing something.
Here's Ralph. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, whose is that? Oh, Ralph Renzetti.
Ralph Renzetti.
Yeah.
It's a good picture.
You know, one thing we didn't. I was gonna.
You were talking, and I rudely interrupt you, Mike.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, if you should be able to come up with an idea or something that, you know, just to like kickstart your interest in maybe doing something and getting something going, or at least trying it. And if at the worst, build a little 2x2 diorama or something like that. Just know, build something small. You know, you don't have to have, you know, do like what Andy and I are doing, or anything like that, you know, or even this. You don't have to do that right away. Start small, you know.
You could even do just this little section right here, that 2x8.
Yeah. I mean, that's in HO scale. You know how much stuff you can get in HO scale in that size, you know, and that's a lot.
And then you can see here David Winter, you know, basically telling you for the bottom here, the furniture adjusters.
Oh,
You in the bottom of your legs too, you can just drill a hole and put a T-nut and a carriage bolt
Yeah.
in there, and that'll work too.
David, is
But-
that at the shop? Is that at Engine House Services? It kind of looks like it was.
No, I think this is his I think this might be his
Is that his
layout.
house? Well, is that
It
his
doesn't
layout?
look like it doesn't look like Engine House.
Oh no, it doesn't, does it? I thought one
Hmm.
that looked like it was at first. No, I take that back. Nope, that's your pole barn. His
Yeah.
pole barn. I'd like to have a pole barn.
Yeah, me too. Here's some stuff from here's Greg Terhar. You can see he's got all of his bench work contained into a shelf.
I like that
Bookshelves and-
so much. That is
Isn't that
so
cool?
cool. That is
William
so
Sampson
cool.
did that with his too. That's
Yeah,
I really like the finished look. Think
I do
about
too.
that when you guys are building.
we haven't even talked about fascia or valances or anything or
No, none
like
of
the
that stuff. This is just the
shadow
base
box.
work.
This is just the base work. Yep.
It's Andy Crawford.
Wow.
It's going to be a crazy scene when he's done with it.
So cool though.
That's how he did the angled
See, that looks
the
neat.
angled bench work there. That's
I
really
like
cool.
that.
That's
That's a good idea.
yeah. Well done, Andy.
Unfortunately, my wife filled a pole barn with horses.
Oh,
That's funny.
can't be doing that. Yeah, and then here's another one here with the C frames missing the styrene backdrops to complete
Yeah.
the cove. This is really cool way to do bench work.
Yeah,
That's very cool.
that's awesome.
Yeah. There we go. Okay, so that's a good look at what everyone's doing in terms of the section crew and you know, it's that's some really cool ways to do bench work. So I think what I'd like to do is just let's while we do closing thoughts here tonight, I do want to just let the section crew talk or ask questions, and you know, maybe bring some final thoughts to the table while I talk to you, Mike, and
Yeah.
say so what's next here. So we're looking at your bench work here.
Yep.
What's the next thing on your layout right now? So you got this 8-foot section.
Yep. I got the
What do you-
8-foot section all set.
Yep.
The very next, believe it or not, I'm a very firm believer in do the hardest thing first. Get that out of
Okay.
the way, because it's going to be the most time consuming. It's going to be the most, frustrating. It's going to be all that. So my next step is I'm going to build a diamond.
Oh, son of a gun.
Yeah, I'm going to hand lay a diamond. This is the template I'm going to use. This is from Fast
Oof.
Tracks. It'll go. I'll just spin the camera thing as far as I possibly can. There. This is great quality production stuff.
Yeah, it's good. The sound is really nice with the grinding and the shaking. It
Yeah.
sounds like someone farting on camera, and I love it because I mean I'm having a good time.
So it'll get put right here,
Okay.
right like that.
Yep.
And it'll represent obviously this. And
Yeah.
so I'll tape this down, or I'll put it down. I'll cut it so it's a little bit more not as generic. I'll cut all these bigger pieces out. But this is going to be the very next thing I do, is going to be building a diamond. Never done it before. I've been given several suggestions as to how to do it already. And I have yet to figure out which one I'm going to do.
Sure.
But this will be the next step. All of the non railroad track. All areas where there'll be scenery, I put Varathane on top of that to help seal this in. I did do Varathane on top of the railroad at first, but then I sanded that off. I went through and I gave it a rough sand, and so now and then I just believe it or not, I just used regular Gorilla wood glue. That's it's hashtag not sponsored. I use that. I use that to put the cork down. This is just poster or bulletin board cork that I got in a roll from Menards. I think it's a 1/16 of an inch thick.
Yeah.
And reason I did it this way is because the railroad is supposed to be somewhat in the dirt, and so I didn't want a big, huge, like with the Midwest cork, which is really cool. I like that. But yeah, that's this is my next step right here. Is to do that.
Awesome.
And start planning electronics for this section as well, because one of the things that I want to do is, since this is going to be someone else's main line, they have priority over my railroad for the diamond. So there will be signaling here, and because of the way we used to do things in Hilbert and a couple of other places on that like on the Green Bay and Western as well, I'm going to put a gate across here. So that way you have to hit a button. You'll hit a button and the gate will open and the signals will change. And then you can go and shove by. Now, one thing to note, I do not have a stop here. This is not a dead end. We will be moving at one point in the next few years. So I'm building this to be extended that way, so that this is more or less the middle of the layout and not just another endpoint and just not a finishing point. So I'm designing this to be continuing on later in life. So yeah, there you go. There's another Farland Terminal exclusive.
Hot snap.
Yeah, but it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna work on this now for a little while, get this to where I want it, and then, like I say, I want to really focus on doing things right. Sure. And making sure that this is really, really sound, and work on my electronics and stuff like that. And then one day I might get I might get 40 extra bucks in my pocket that burns a hole in my pocket, and I might go to the store and buy all this stuff to buy the next section. And then I got to clean that section off, and there's another 8 feet that I got to tear down yet. And as you can see back, where is it? Over here. This is all still the old layout, right? Yeah. It's just getting one little piece by little piece by little piece. So I'm starting to do it. Now, what about you? How are you coming along with what you're doing? We haven't talked a lot about what you're doing.
We don't talk about me. There's nothing to talk
about you. Yeah, we need to talk about you.
So basically, I've been kind of stagnated here with what's going on behind me, and I don't necessarily know if I don't know. I'm in a weird spot with the layout right now, because I'm finding that from an operational standpoint, maybe difficult to, I guess, I didn't do a really good job planning out the staging. And I think that's going to reduce my fun, because I do want it to be somewhat operational. So I don't know. I got to do a little consternating on my next moves, but I think the two main areas that I'll be focusing on next is an iron mine pellet plant. So I got the mine, I guess, bench work all done. the backdrop paneling in, all that good stuff. So I'll be essentially going down that road, and then the other area would be a ore dock.
Ooh,
So
those are
I
fun.
have, yeah, it's gonna be it's actually on the other side of this wall is where it's gonna be. And I have to basically, I've mapped out where my yard lead's going to come in, so I can push a 32 car ore train up the yard lead and then go up like a 3.5% grade, and then essentially have that go on an ore dock. And then I'll have a boat in the foreground on that scene. So I think cause I've always wanted to have like an ore dock with a big ore boat there. And,
Now, can
and
I
I
ask a
got
question? Can I ask you a
12
question
feet
about
here.
that?
So yeah.
Oops. Are you gonna go with the classic ore boat that everybody seems to do, or are you going to find one that is a little
No.
bit different?
So I'm not doing the Edmund Fitzgerald, if
That's
that's
what
what
I was
you're
asking.
Yeah. So
Everybody always does the Edmund Fitzgerald. I mean,
yeah.
there's only one of those, and I think there's 10,000 of them out there.
Yeah, right. So we're not doing the Edmund Fitzgerald. I'll be doing the Arthur M. Anderson, and that boat's
Ooh,
actually still in service. So it's
that comes to Green Bay all the time, or it used to at
yeah.
least.
Yeah, so it's gonna be the boat that's gonna be at the forefront of the ore dock there. So
Yeah, yeah, that's a
um
really sharp boat. That's a really, really
yeah,
cool one.
they painted it up kind of neat, and that boat has a bit of history itself. So
Oh yeah,
um yeah,
yeah,
so it
yeah.
was the one that went and looked for the Fitzgerald when she took the nosedive. So
It was following her.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
So, but
yeah, so
yeah,
that's
that's
pretty
cool.
much what's next for me. So what's next for the show? I think next week Thursday, at 7 o'clock, we do have a show scheduled. We're still waiting on confirmation from the guests, but regardless, we do have backup topics in the hopper, short line of the show, that type of stuff that we will be doing in the event that we can't get our guests to line up for this next show. So we will be recording next Thursday with our potential backup topic, and yeah, that'll be at the new time of 7 p.m. Central. So one thing that you can do for us here is let us know if you like the new time slot, and you like the new day. Give us some feedback, because we kind of did this not only because my son had ball practice, but I know a lot of folks had given us feedback to say, hey, maybe we should make the show an hour earlier, that type of stuff. So make sure you let us know how we're doing, and there's multiple ways that you can do that. You can give us a comment here tonight and say, yep, we're doing a good job. You can head to our Facebook group at Second Section Podcast. Join the group. Not only do we have the feed, the report out on the show and what we're doing, but we have a great group of modelers sharing model railroad content, willing to help each other out. It's a great community that we're building there on Facebook. And then finally, you can always drop us an email. And I want to close the show tonight with an email that we got from a viewer. And they're kind of asking for some help from the section crew. And it's just something different. But I did want to read that to the crew here. And before we adjourn for this evening. So it says, good afternoon. My name is Jim Davis, and I have recently just started listening to the podcast. My son told me about the podcast a couple months ago, and we really enjoy what you do and all the different things that you discuss. We are starting to get some friends together to do some projects to make us come out of our comfort zone.
Ooh, that's
Some of
fun.
these some of these have been modelers for a while, and some are brand new to the hobby. We range from teenagers to men in their 70s. We have a lot of fun operating together, And our first project is a 6-inch by 10-inch diorama. I'm providing a base and a boxcar of their choice, and we are doing a diorama of what a boxcar is when it's no longer a boxcar. Their imagine is allowed to soar. Will you please ask your followers in the section crew what ideas they would recommend for good basic projects that could be done in a few nights' work together? Our goal is to get people convenient enough that be willing to try new projects they would normally never think of doing. We look forward to hearing what ideas your followers may have. Jim and Christopher Davis.
First of all, that sounds like an amazing project. It sounds a lot of fun.
I think it does sound. I think it sounds like a ton of fun. So what I'm going to challenge the section crew. Yeah. So I think what I'd like to do is, and I think this is a really cool project, but I think what I'd like to do is I'll put a primer. I'll put a primer topic reminding the section crew about the email that we got this evening. And what I'd like you guys to do is post your responses in the comment section of the Facebook, and we'll get our friends, the Davises, some suggestions on what they can do. And who knows, maybe we'll have a little modeling contest ourselves.
Can I model?
So,
no,
huh?
I'm not eligible.
Yeah, you can, absolutely. Let's have some fun. We'll all do it, right?
Right.
So, anyways, I did want to bring that up. So I thought that was really cool email, and I really wanted to share with everyone here tonight. So
I love that. I love the way he put that. When a boxcar is not a boxcar.
It's not a boxcar, and maybe we'll take Mr. Davis's lead here and maybe do a little diorama of our own. So
look at what's being put in the messages already.
No,
there are so many good ideas already.
Yeah. And then if you're not part of the Facebook group, by all means, leave a comment here in the show tonight or send us an email at secondsectionpodcast@gmail.com.
Absolutely.
Very cool. All right, section crew. Again, give us the feedback, and we look forward to seeing you next week, the 16th at 7 p.m. Central Time. Hopefully, we'll have a good show lined up for you, and keep in contact on the Facebook group. So we'll see all of you all next week. Good night.
Night.